Welcome to a journey unlike any other. This is not just a story. It is a living, breathing path that grows with each word and unfolds like the petals of a rare flower. Today, you are invited to enter a world built on dreams, stitched with ambition, and shadowed by betrayal, a world where a name becomes a symbol and a symbol becomes a legacy. This is the story of Gucci, told in the simplest English, yet carrying the weight of deep emotions, the thrill of power, and the complexity of real lives. The story you are about to read is not meant to end. Like the winding alleys of Florence, it continues, corner after corner, waiting for you to take the next turn. So sit back, take a deep breath, and prepare to step into the world behind the fashion, where love, greed, and glory meet. A long time ago in the heart of Italy, there was a city called Florence. The streets were old and narrow. The walls were made of stone. In the morning, people could hear the bells of the church. In the evening, they could smell fresh bread from the baker's shop. Horses walked slowly on cobblestone roads, pulling wooden carts full of fabric, shoes, and leather. The city was busy but beautiful. It was full of sounds, smells, and stories. In a small workshop, the air smelled like rich leather and warm wood. Inside, a young man worked with his hands. His name was Gucci. He was not rich. He did not come from a powerful family, but he had something stronger than money. He had a dream. Guccio watched the world quietly. He saw rich travelers. They wore nice clothes and carried beautiful bags. He worked in a hotel called the Savoy in London, far away from his home. There, he opened doors for important people. He cleaned their shoes. He carried their bags. He saw things most people did not see. He saw the way people looked at fine leather. He saw how a good bag could make someone feel proud. It was more than just fashion. It was a feeling, a symbol, a power. Every day, Guccio stood tall, with quiet eyes and a careful mind. He thought, why not bring this feeling to my own people? Why not make something beautiful with my own hands? The idea grew in his heart like a small seed. It needed time, care, and courage. So he returned to Florence, where the hills were green and the air was soft. There, with only a little money, but a lot of heart, he opened a small shop. It was not big, it did not shine. But it had strong shelves, clean tools, and dreams hanging in the air like the smell of leather. People came slowly. First a man who wanted a belt, then a woman who needed a suitcase. Guccio made each item with love. He worked late at night, shaping, leather like an artist paints a picture. Every stitch was a word. Every bag was a story. But success is not easy. Not everyone believed in his dream. Some people laughed. Some turned away. And yet, there was something quiet and strong in the way. Guccio kept going. A fire inside him said, "This is only the beginning." In the shadows, something waited. A new chapter, a twist in the road, a decision that would change everything. The small shop in Florence grew slowly, like a young tree pushing its branches toward the sun. Guccio worked with steady hands, but his heart was restless. He knew that to make his dream bigger, he needed more than just good leather and careful stitches. He needed something special, something that would make people stop and look, something that would speak to their souls without words. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned soft pink, Guccio sat by the window. He looked out at the city, alive with voices and footsteps. His thoughts wandered far away to the grand hotels of London and Paris where he had once worked. He remembered the faces of the travelers, how they carried themselves with quiet pride, how their clothes whispered secrets of distant places and secret clubs. Then, a thought came like a spark in the dark. What if the symbol of his work was not just in the leather but in a sign, a mark that said, "This is special, this is Gucci"? A logo, he thought, a name that people would know by sight and feel by heart. But what should it be? Days passed, and Guccio experimented. He sketched on pieces of paper. He drew lines, circles, and letters. He thought of his own name, his family, the city he loved. He tried to create something simple but strong, like the quiet strength inside him. Finally, he made a sign, two G's, one facing the other, like a secret handshake between friends. It was a small thing, but it carried power. The double G was like two wings ready to fly. It was a mirror reflecting the past and the future. It was the beginning of a legend, but the road was not easy. As the shop's name grew, so did the challenges. A rival leather maker appeared, a man with sharp eyes and a cold smile. He saw Guccio's work and wanted it for himself. One night, under a moonless sky, the rival's men tried to steal a secret design, a new bag that Guccio was proud of. But luck was with Guccio. A young apprentice, Maria, caught them just in time. She was brave, quick, and loyal. Her eyes shone with fire, and her heart beat for the dream Guccio had planted. This event changed the shop forever. Guccio knew he could not walk alone. He needed people like Maria, people who believed not just in leather, but in the story behind it. And in the quiet corners of the city, whispers began, whispers of a new name, a new style, and a future that looked bright and strange, but danger waited still in the shadows, like a silent storm ready to break. Guccio's family, his loyal workers, and the young apprentice Maria were about to face a choice that would test their hearts and change the course of the story. The sun rose slowly over Florence, painting the city in soft gold. In the quiet moments, before the streets filled with life, Guccio Gucci sat at his work table, tracing the outline of the double G logo on a piece of smooth leather. His hands trembled, not from age but from the weight of what was coming. He knew his dream had grown beyond just him. It had become a thread that would bind not only his work, but also his family's future. Guccio had 3 sons, Aldo, Vasco, and Rodolfo. Each was very different but carried a piece of his father's spirit inside them. Aldo was calm and thoughtful, with a mind for business and numbers. Vasco was wild and passionate, a dreamer who loved adventure more than anything else. Rodolfo was quiet and careful, always watching, learning, waiting for the right moment to act. At the breakfast table, Guccio looked at his sons. He saw not just boys, but the next keepers of his dream. "One day," he said softly, "this shop will be more than just a place. It will be a name known across the world. But to get there, we must be strong, together." The sons nodded, but inside their hearts, the road ahead was not clear. The dream was big, and the world outside Florence was changing fast. There were new machines, new styles, and new people who wanted to take what Guccio had built. The family needed to move beyond the small workshop if they wanted to survive. So the brothers began to work in different parts of the business. Aldo traveled to America, where the streets of New York were full of bright lights and endless possibilities. He learned how to sell, how to make people want something more than just a bag or a belt. He learned how to sell a story, a feeling. Vasco stayed in Italy, working with the craftsmen, making sure the quality of their leather never slipped. He believed the heart of Gucci was in the hands of the workers, in the soft touch of the leather, the perfect stitch. But his restless soul often pulled him toward new ideas, new risks. Rodolfo stayed close to his father, learning every secret of the trade and every whisper of the family's history. He knew the value of patience and watching the world quietly, like a cat waiting to pounce. But even as the family grew closer, shadows began to stretch between them. Small disagreements became sharp words. Different dreams pulled them in opposite directions. Was Gucci just about making beautiful things, or was it about power and money? Was the family united or divided? And in the distance, the city's busy. Streets whispered a warning. Change was coming, and it would not wait for anyone. One night, under a sky heavy with stars, a letter arrived. It was from Aldo in America. The words inside spoke of great opportunities, but also great danger. Someone wanted to buy the Gucci name, someone with power and a plan to take everything. The family now stood at a crossroad where love, loyalty, and ambition would fight to decide their future. The story of Gucci was no longer just a tale of leather and dreams. It was a story of a family, torn and tied by the invisible threads of fate. The letter from Aldo sat on the old wooden table, its edges curling like a fragile leaf. Guccio read it again and again, feeling the weight of every word pressed down on his chest. America was no longer just a land of hope. It had become a battlefield. A powerful man, a businessman with cold eyes and sharper knives, wanted to buy the Gucci name, not for love but for control, for money, for power. The room was thick with silence. Guccio's sons gathered around, each carrying their own thoughts like invisible stones. Aldo's message was clear. If they did not act soon, the family's name would be lost, swallowed by the hunger of strangers. Aldo's words planted fear, but also a spark, a fire that no one could put out. The family had worked too hard, dreamed too big, to let their legacy vanish in the night. The brothers argued late into the night. Vasco wanted to fight with passion, to protect the workshop and the workers at any cost. Rodolfo urged caution, believing they should build slowly, make smarter moves, and not rush into a dangerous battle. Aldo, far away but strong in voice, insisted on striking hard and fast in America, the new world of opportunity. Guccio watched them, feeling the weight of his years settle like dust. He knew this fight was more than business. It was about family, trust, loyalty, betrayal, the kind of battle that breaks people or makes them stronger. Then, in the quiet dark, Maria, the brave apprentice from long ago, returned. She carried news from the city, rumors that the businessman was making deals with people inside the Gucci family itself. Someone close to them, someone ready to sell their dreams for a handful of coins. The room grew colder. The threat was not just outside. It was inside. The story of Gucci was becoming a tale of shadows, where no one could be fully trusted, and every smile hid a secret. Guccio knew that the fight ahead would not be only with leather and stitches, but with hearts and minds. Would the family stand united, or would the threads of ambition tear them apart? As the dawn broke, washing the city in soft light, a decision was made. The Gucci family would face their greatest challenge yet, one that could build an empire or destroy everything in a single moment. But the night still held secrets. A hidden letter, a stolen design, a whispered betrayal waited patiently, ready to strike. The future of Gucci hung in balance, fragile as the first light of morning. The morning. Light spilled through the tall windows of the Gucci family home, but inside the air was heavy with doubt. Guccio sat alone, staring at the old leather-bound book where he kept his most treasured designs. The book was like a mirror, reflecting years of hard work, hope, and dreams. Yet today, it felt like fragile glass, ready to shatter at the smallest touch. Maria, the brave apprentice, had uncovered a secret, a hidden letter tucked away in one of the workshops. It was not meant for Guccio or his sons, but for the cold businessman in America. The letter spoke of a plan to sell new designs and secret ideas before the family could even finish them. A betrayal from within. But who could it be? The question hung like a dark cloud over the family. Whose heart had turned away from loyalty? Whose hands were ready to break the threads that held them together? Guccio called his sons to the workshop. The air was thick with tension as each brother looked at the others, searching for answers in faces they thought they knew well. Aldo's eyes were sharp, filled with the weight of responsibility. Vasco's fingers twitched nervously, as if ready to fight an invisible enemy. Rodolfo's gaze was calm but distant, like a man holding back a storm inside. They began to search, not just the workshop, but their own memories, their own fears. Small moments of silence, strange meetings, unexplained absences. The truth was hidden deep beneath layers of trust and pain. And then, a discovery. An old friend, someone who once helped build the Gucci dream, was now seen meeting in secret with the businessman's men. It was a knife twisting slowly in the family's heart. But, even as the family faced this dark shadow, the world outside was changing. Fashion was no longer just about leather and design. It was about stories told on the runways of Paris and New York, about new faces and new ideas that could lift Gucci higher or crush it underfoot. In the silence of the workshop, Guccio stood tall, but inside, a quiet storm raged. The family's fight was no longer just to protect what they had built, it was a fight for their very souls. And just when the night seemed darkest, a new visitor appeared, a stranger with an old photograph and a mysterious message that could change everything. But what secret did this visitor hold? And how would it weave into the fragile threads of the Gucci family? The story was far from over. The pieces were moving, the game was changing, and the next move was waiting in the shadows.